Here we are again. I wanted to share my most up-to-date version of my brew for Pioneer. It is Blue-Green Centaur Surprise. So this deck came about with the printing of Rampage of the Clans, which says destroy all artifacts and enchantments for each permanent destroyed its way. Its controller creates a 3/3 green Centaur token. And so the big plan was fill up your board with artifacts, play Rampage of the Clans, and then end the game soon after that. So you have a lot of mana. No, you have a lot of small artifacts that draw you cards. So now we have Witching Well. So scries you 2, and then it can draw you 2 as well. Terrarion can draw you some cards, but you have to wait a turn. Spare Supplies, it can draw you 2 cards, but it draws you 1 right away. Prophetic Prism also draws you some cards. And then Mystic Forge lets you play your artifacts off the top. And then we have Mox Amber as well, because our creature base is mostly legends, and it's also an artifact. So what are our legends? Our main legend is Psi Master Thopterus. There's 4 of them there. It gets you a 1/4 for 3 mana, and then whenever you play an artifact spell, you suddenly get a flying Thopter, and so you can race your opponents that way as well, or have a steady stream of blockers. Then we also have Jolraelm, Wanvuli Recluse, which can also generate a steady stream of cat tokens, but it can also turn your entire board into a large army as well. In testing, this has not been super relevant, but I believe it's enough where 1 is justified because it's threat diversity, and it also helps turn your Mox Amber on because you need a legend for it to turn on. Also added Toski, Bearer of Secrets, basically because it can't be countered, it's indestructible, and it can draw you cards. Our other artifact is Hangerback Walker, which can also help with the plan of stalling out the board, and then when it dies, you get artifacts equal to the number of 1/1 counters, which can also be destroyed by Rampage of the Clans for some really nutty amount of centaurs entering the battlefield. And then still rocking the Artificer's Epiphany as a way to sort of try and dig out of dead states when you're drawing 1 card a turn. At least maybe you can draw 2 cards extra, and that will help you out. Mana base, not very difficult to understand. Blue-green lands, a lot of them, and they all come into play untapped most of the time, at least in the first 3 turns. And then the last recent addition is we have the Black Staff of Waterdeep, which also gives you an extra dimension of threats. Basically gives you a 4/4 pretty quick. Since I've added this to the deck, I haven't actually seen it come out, but it is nice to also have that option available. Since the deck is pretty non-interactive, which would be one of the weaknesses unless you have your sideboard. Let's talk about the sideboard. So we have Aetherize as a way to slow down those aggressive decks. Just put all their stuff back in their hand and hope it gets you there. Negate for planeswalkers or other big spells that are a problem. Summary Dismissal. This was a way to deal with Aetherworks Marvel combo, because it just exiles everything on the stack. I like it. I'm keeping it. Uh, and since it exiles, it can also get through like uncounterable things as well. So it's pretty versatile, cuts through spells and abilities, exiles them all, goodbye. Ratchet Bomb, fantastic artifact that also triggers Psi, and good at getting rid of those decks that flood the board with 1-drops and 2-drops. And then your artifacts usually come into play and give you a draw trigger, so if they die, you're not too sad about it. Pacification Array as a cheap way to tap down your opponent's biggest threat, buying you some time. Very cheap cost of 1 mana, although it is 2 to tap an artifact or a creature, but I like it. Pithing Needle, naming a threat that does nutty things, likely a planeswalker or perhaps an artifact as well. And then lastly, Bubbling Cauldron to give you some sort of life gain, since you do eventually flood the board with tokens. Um, so gaining life I felt was a good option, and I found one option in this artifact, so I can play it in the deck. So the deck isn't going to probably win a tournament if tournaments still exist, but it is definitely a lot of fun to play because you just sit there, do a bunch of nonsense, and your opponent's like, what is this person doing? And then you play a Rampage of the Clans, and you laugh, and you laugh, and then you laugh, and then sometimes I get salty. But the downside is if you don't have Mox Ambers laying around, it's kind of expensive to build the deck. Otherwise, it is pretty cheap to build. I did try Emery, Lurker of the Lock, but your artifacts aren't that exciting to be reanimating and playing from your graveyard. Suppose the Blackstaff at Waterdeep changes that, but usually you play Emery and then Emery dies. Maybe I'll try it again in the future. Something to think about. Alright, so those are the cards in this deck and why I like them, and I think they go together well. Yeah, thanks for watching.